Alright, what's going on everybody? Welcome back to another video here on the channel, and you probably have already heard about this already because it's actually massive news, but Bill Cosby has been let out of jail and is now a free man, which is pretty crazy, right? Because if you remember anything about the whole Bill Cosby story and like when he was being tried and everything, it's been overwhelmingly against him, the case at least. Like, you know, the things that he was accused of doing are disgusting. Like, he did some crazy stuff. And there was so much evidence for it and everything, and it really kind of seemed like this was going to be an open and shut case, that Bill Cosby was going to go to jail, he was going to serve all this time, and it was a massive story. Actually, I'm pretty sure he was the first celebrity to be tried and convicted with this whole, like, recent Me Too movement and everything, because I think it was like him and Harvey Weinstein kind of helped kick all of that off, right? The stories that came out against them inspired, I guess, all these other people to come out with their own stories about different things that had happened. And next thing you know, all these people are getting accused of doing all this really foul stuff, and then people are coming forward with stories about people that we would never really even expect. And Bill Cosby was one of those people. Bill Cosby has been one of the most beloved, I would say, figures in recent American history until everything that kind of unfolded. I think everyone kind of knew Bill Cosby, right? And, I mean, not during my lifetime was he really in his heyday or anything, but he was still a pretty massive person, a massive figure in the entertainment industry. And when everything started to kind of unfold, man, it was pretty insane. But he is actually now released from prison. His assault conviction was overturned by the Supreme Court of Pennsylvania. And I'm pretty sure this means that it's preventing, or it will prevent, I guess, them from trying him again for this entire thing. So Pennsylvania's highest court overturned Bill Cosby's sex assault conviction Wednesday, and Cosby was released from a state prison hours later. Wearing a white t-shirt from his alma mater, Philadelphia Central High School, Cosby appeared outside of his Cheltenham Township home, escorted by his spokesperson Andrew Wyatt and his appellate attorney, Jennifer Bonjean. He smiled and nodded at supporters, but said nothing. "Today on this hot day, this is a hot verdict for us that we will forever cherish," Wyatt told reporters. He is extremely happy to be home, Bonjean said. He looks forward to reuniting with his wife and his children. The stunning reversal of fortune for the 83-year-old Cosby, once beloved as, quote, America's dad, happened after the court found an agreement with a previous prosecutor prevented him from being charged in the case. It also shut down the possibility of a third trial in the case, according to prosecutors. So like I had said, this whole case, it seemed, was pretty open and shut, right? Like, the evidence was there. It seemed like, you know, he was completely guilty, right? And then now he's getting out of jail years later on some technicality that really kind of saved his ass, because don't get it twisted, it's not like they went back and they found evidence that this guy didn't do it, right? It's not like, you know, the court came forward later like, oh, you know, we found this new evidence and it says that he isn't guilty of what took place. You know, there was no compelling case like to let this man out. In fact, he really only got out because the prosecutor messed up. So this is not in any way, I guess, him being kind of repaid his time and having his name cleared or anything. He's still going to be known for what he did, right? So Cosby was convicted in 2018 of drugging and blanking Temple University employee Andrea Constand at his suburban Philadelphia estate in 2004. He was charged in late 2015 when a prosecutor armed with a newly unsealed evidence, Cosby's damaging deposition from her lawsuit, arrested him days before the 12-year statute of limitations expired. Constand issued a statement to USA Today through her lawyers saying that the reversal by the High Court was, quote, disappointing because it could discourage victims from coming forward. She called the decision a, quote, procedural technicality. "We urge all victims to make their voices heard. We do not intend to make any further comment," this statement concluded. Okay, so to kind of explain it, this is how I understand it, right? So apparently back when everything was kind of happening years ago, the prosecutor back in the day basically had an agreement with Cosby saying that he wasn't really going to charge him. Then, of course, years later, he was end up being charged for this entire thing and then convicted. But they've now kind of came back around to the beginning here where this DA or whatever says that he's not going to prosecute Cosby the first time around. And from what I understand, when they say something like that, when they make a promise like that, it's almost like a contract, right? Like they actually, I think, are legally bound to kind of follow what they say, right? So if someone like that says, hey, we're not going to try you, man, they can't come back around and then go back on that, from what I understand. That's kind of what happened here, and apparently this was a violation of constitutional rights. Now, on top of that, it prevents a third trial from taking place, which, as far as I understand, is due to the double jeopardy law or whatever, the double jeopardy clause. basically stating that you cannot be tried for the same thing twice without new evidence or something being presented. So if you're found innocent or whatever, and then like they, I guess, overturn your conviction, anything like that, they have to have new evidence before they try you again. So I don't know what that would necessarily constitute in this case for there to ever be a chance for them to retry him, but I would think it'd have to be pretty significant to the case in order to even really open this one back up. Gloria Allred, the woman's rights attorney who represents dozens of Cosby accusers, said in a statement to USA Today that the court's decision, quote, must be devastating for his accusers, but it was not a vindication of Cosby's conduct. Quote, despite the Pennsylvania Supreme Court's decision, this was an important fight for justice, and even though the court overturned the conviction on technical grounds, it did not vindicate Bill Cosby's conduct and should not be interpreted as a statement or a finding that he did not engage in the acts of which he has been accused, her statement said. Kevin Steele, the Montgomery County District Attorney who convicted Cosby, said in a statement to USA Today that Cosby, quote, now goes free on a procedural issue that is irrelevant to the facts of the crime. He said that due to the decision, Cosby cannot be tried a third time. Quote, my hope is that this decision will not dampen the reporting of sexual assaults by victims, Steele said in the statement. Prosecutors in my office will continue to follow the evidence wherever and to whomever it leads. We still believe that no one is above the law, including those who are rich, famous, and powerful. So, I mean, regardless of, like, this overturning or whatever, the truth is still the truth, right? And all the evidence really kind of leads to, yeah, Bill Cosby did this stuff. He is guilty as charged. He should be ashamed, right? This is not some situation where, like, he's getting out right and then the story is about to get turned around. I don't think Bill Cosby is ever going to have any sort of career ahead of him, especially in Hollywood. I mean, he is 83 or whatever, after all. So, I mean, using logic, like, he probably doesn't have that much longer to go. I mean, honestly, it would have been a stretch to say that he would even really serve out those 10 years in prison. He probably would have ended up dying in prison at this point. He is getting past the average life expectancy at this point, so... But even then, you know, he does not deserve to be free. I mean, yeah, there's the technicalities and whatever, right? And they got him with the rules are rules kind of thing, right? But this is a man that does not deserve to be free. This is a man who has caused immense hurt and harm to other people. This is a man who is honestly a danger to society. When the Pennsylvania Supreme Court accepted Cosby's appeal, it did so citing only two issues, including whether Cosby's second trial was tainted by the testimony of, quote, prior bad acts accusers. A lower appeals court had found introducing those witnesses was appropriate to show a signature pattern of drugging and blanking women. Cosby's lawyers agreed that such testimony was more prejudicial. Cosby's lawyers argued that such testimony was more prejudicial than probative, thus violating trial rules, but the High Court's decision focused on the second issue, whether a previous prosecutor's decisions precluded Cosby from being criminally prosecuted. If Cosby's correct that the Commonwealth was precluded from prosecuting him, then the question of whether the prior bad act testimony violated trial rules will become moot, the decision said. On that issue, the court found that Cosby's trial was unfair because prosecutors used damaging evidence that Cosby turned over in Constance's civil case to convict him of criminal offenses, even though former district attorney Bruce Castor years earlier told him and the public that those charges were off the table. In effect, the opinion concluded, Cosby was forced to give up his Fifth Amendment right protecting his self-incrimination. So the Fifth Amendment of the United States Constitution essentially allows you the right to not tell on yourself. So if they're trying you in court and they present evidence against you, you don't have to say anything, right? You can just say, I plead the Fifth Amendment. You don't have to make any sort of comment or say anything you don't want to say, right? So essentially they had all this evidence or whatever beforehand that he had turned over in a civil case. Then, right then, the people prosecuting, the district attorney, told him that any charges based on that information would have been off the table. Then they tried to bring it back into the mix years later and charge him again. And by doing so, he had already given up his Fifth Amendment right. So they got it through on a technicality. I mean, we're not talking about somebody who's honestly innocent here or deserves any sort of credit. He did not win in this situation. He did not beat the case in a very respectable way. He didn't do it by proving innocence or anything like that. He did it by essentially taking advantage of a technicality and getting away with something that he should not be getting away with. Anyways, that's going to be it for this video, though. Thank you guys for watching. If you did enjoy, make sure to leave a like. Subscribe if you're brand new around here on the channel. Follow me over on Twitter and Twitch at SubTheOptimus. Make sure to check out Shop Opti down below. And until my next video, guys, this is Optimus, well, not agreeing with Bill Cosby being released, and signing out.